Hola, bienvenidos a Un Té con Manzanilla. Estoy contenta de regresar aquí con ustedes como cada martes. Y bueno, hoy tengo una invitada que ya estuvo con nosotros, estuvo prácticamente hace tal vez menos de un año, pero esta vez, bueno, la verdad es que es bien emocionante y no les quiero arruinar la noticia, pero trae muchas noticias y me da mucho gusto tenerla después de algunos meses porque hoy la tenemos completamente recuperada y lista para un nuevo proyecto de vida y queremos platicar algo muy especial con ella. Hey, Georgia, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having me again.
I'm so happy to having you here in this new phase because I do remember last time that we have the interview and we did the podcast. You're still in recovery. Um, and now
Yeah.
you are fully recovered. So I think that's something that we can talk today, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think last time when I was on the podcast, I was doing so well in my recovery. Uh, I think it's when you are in the middle of recovery, it's not going to get any better than the present moment. It's only later on when you make more progress, when you carry on the healing journey. For me, now I can look back on a year ago or when we did the podcast, and I think, wow, there's such a big difference. I thought full recovery was impossible and that I was just going to have to be okay with being not fully recovered but feeling better,
Yes.
and not fully in the eating disorder. So now to look back and think like, oh, it was possible for me, and actually I've done the work. Takes a lot of hard work, but it's possible. And you can get to a place of full freedom and living life in a state of general well-being and freedom.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. When you live in quasi-recovery, you really can imagine how your life is going to turn when you get to
Mhm.
the fully recovery. I will say like whatever you imagine is not what you imagine because you never been there. You never feel the freedom of fully recovery. And when you experience, of course, like you go back and you see back and see like everything it was worth it. All the way that all the process, all the tears, the fear, everything was worth it for this moment. But when you are in quasi recovery, sometimes you wonder like, oh, this is recovery. It doesn't feel quite, I mean, it doesn't feel quite good sometimes, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, definitely a long period of time where I thought if any person said they didn't have problems with food, they didn't have problems with their body, if I saw somebody at the gym that said that they were exercising or moving their body with full freedom and they weren't managing their food or trying to control their body, I thought that was a big fat lie. I did not believe anybody. I just thought, no, you're definitely lying. That is not possible. Because I think if you've never, like you said, if you've never experienced it, also there is the genetic component to eating disorders. So it's most likely that a person with an eating disorder, their family will also have disordered eating of some form. To a person with the eating disorder genetics, full freedom is a completely foreign concept. It is unbelievable, I think, to a person who hasn't fully fully recovered or fully got to that place of freedom. So
Yeah.
to anybody listening, I promise you that it does exist. I know it might seem unbelievable, but that there are people out there. I know that in our current culture, disordered eating is being glamorized, it's being promoted. But I promise you there is an alternative to that. Yeah, just keep going. I know it's hard, but just you've got to keep going through it.
Yeah, I think you hit so many points in what you said at first. It's something like feels like unreachable, right? Like, okay,
Mhm.
I think I'm not going to never accept it. I mean, in that moment, if I gain weight, most of the people stay in quasi-recovery because they want to still controlling some of the rules, some of the rigidity that the eating disorder is telling you, quite less than when you were in the deep eating disorder. Still there, still rules. And this
Mhm.
controlling part is always like telling you and whispering you, "Hmm, oh, I think you should stop this process of the recovery because you are not going to accept yourself. It's going to be very bad after this." And if it's I always say like the voice is like, imagine it now is hard. It's going to be harder after. And the truth is like, it's this little line when you jump that line and say, okay, I don't care. I'm going to continue, start feeling, oh, it really that hard. It really hits. It's just
Mhm.
if you stay in this line between yes or not. It makes you more suffering.
Oh, definitely. Maybe not everybody, but for me personally, like having an eating disorder, it made me feel like I was finally good at something. I was good at restricting my food and over exercising and ignoring my body signals and my limits, my boundaries. So I fully understand. And I'm not a high achiever. I'm somebody that growing up, I was never very good at anything. I was just always very medium, very average at everything. So the eating disorder was the first thing that I was successful at. And then when you start recovery, you are in that middle ground of recovery, you are no longer pleasing the eating disorder. You are no longer good at having an eating disorder. If the person has experienced extreme hunger or reactive hunger, are no longer, it feels like you are no longer able to restrict food. You go through these episodes of extreme eating. You feel like you've lost what you were good at, and that hurts so much. It was painful. It's grieving. It's a grieving process. And when you haven't fully reached full freedom, you feel like you've failed. I felt like I failed. I was like, I have failed at having an eating disorder and I have failed at being a full, free human being. So you just feels it hurts. It really does.
Yeah, I agree totally with you. I think you touch an important so like yeah feeling and subject there because yeah, not too much people talking about this. Like
Mm,
you said, this proud of okay, I'm having an eating disorder. I'm good. Finally, I'm good in something like better than anyone because it's not just be good. You have to be the best,
yeah.
and you really dedicate your life to keep that medal with you, right? Like, I want to
Mhm.
keep the medal, I keep that pride. And when you start recovery and you start see like, oh, I can do that anymore. And is the identity also that the
Mhm.
eating disorder gives to you. And this false identity, because it's totally false, because one moment the eating disorder is telling you you are the best, but 3 minutes after it's telling you like, oh, you are a failure. Can't
Exactly.
do this. So it's this play all the time between feeling the best and
Mhm.
in seconds feeling the worst.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's difficult to remember now because it feels like such a long time ago. But like if I think back of when I did have that almost euphoria of being successful at restricting, of obeying the eating disorder's demands, it lasted for seconds because you restrict successfully, you feel exhausted, and the eating disorder's going, well done. You've done well here. You've restricted and you feel completely exhausted and you've not eaten and you've overexercised. And then instantly you compare yourself to someone else, something else, you hear something in the media, feel like you've still not done enough. So that praise and the congratulations coming from the eating disorder, it's just a lie. And I think when you're in it, it's so difficult to know that because that's the only voice in your head when you're deep in the depths of the eating disorder is the eating disorder. But yeah, it's just so important to remember that the eating disorder will only be satisfied when you are dead, essentially. Like, that's all, and it's so sad, and it hurts me to say that, but I think that's the truth, and the eating disorder's only goal is just to make you as small as possible and as restricted as possible, and the eating disorder only wins, unfortunately, when you are no longer able to live. And I think it just proves that there is no point in fighting with the eating disorder, because the eating disorder will only win when you die. And what's the point in that?
Yes.
The only alternative is recovery and getting to full freedom.
If you want to live, because actually
Mm,
living with an eating disorder is, for me, like you are dead in life. Like,
yeah.
I mean, how much we struggle with the feelings, how much we struggle with, with give us all or fulfill all our necessities, all of that struggle. Even it's not just about food. We think it's about food, but it's about rest. It's about sleeping. It's about so much time, like going to the bathroom. We restrict in many ways our life.
Yeah.
Of course, being in quasi recovery, it feels much better, right? Because you restrict less, but still, I feel that when you stuck in that part of I'm better, but not
Mhm.
like totally free, still not having really the feeling of being free. And that's the most important, because a lot of people stay in quasi recovery. What do you think, like, people stay in quasi? We talk about control, talk about like the pride, but what else? What else keep the people in that stage?
So I think this is really interesting for me personally to talk about right now, because I think how I got out of quasi recovery and became fully free is my extreme hunger was so extreme that I got out of an energy deficit. So I think the only way to get to full freedom is getting out of the energy deficit. However, never really thought about why I was staying stuck in quasi recovery. It's only afterwards, more recently, that I've been able to reflect back and think of the like cognitive reasons of I was why I was wanting to not fully recover, or wanting to stay in that like quasi recovery. It for me anyway, it was a need to control and an absolute fear that if I was to take my my control or like my hand off of aspects of my life, it was just like a fear that I just wouldn't be able to cope with life if I didn't micromanage my food or my body or my exercise, that I wouldn't know what to do with my time, I wouldn't know what to do with my energy, and I wouldn't be able to cope with being an adult human being. Because it's hard being an adult, and you know this more than I know this because you've got children, hard work. You feel that if you can control everything, or if you can stay hidden in the safety and the comfort blanket of having an eating disorder or having an illness, it takes that pressure and responsibility to be an adult away, and it keeps you protected and safe, and it gives you a false perception of being in control of your life.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you say a word that I like it a lot: responsible.
Mhm.
We tend in the eating disorder, when we are in quasi recovery, of course, when we are in the eating disorder, but we tend to go to the guilt part, right? To touch a lot of that guilt part, and so that I'm having this because I'm not doing enough. I don't have enough self power or whatever. But we are not taking responsibility, and that's for me is a big difference, because guilt is not responsibility. Guilt is just make it suffer and resuffer and again and not doing anything. But when you decide it and when you start like taking responsibility of your decisions,
Mhm.
then it's like, it's not guilt. And I want to be clear, I'm not guilting anyone that doing
Mhm.
anything. It's different, because you say like, okay, I have an eating disorder. It's not my fault. I didn't decide to having it, but it happens. My genetics, All the things are outside that the reason that I had the eating disorder. But now I have it. What I'm doing with this? Should I take the responsibility to recover? Should I take the responsibility, as you say, like, follow my extreme hunger? Should I take the responsibility to don't listen to the eating disorder? I think that's an important part of
Yeah.
quasi recovery, because you still, when you are in quasi recovery, you still, I don't know, like exchanging.
Yes, there's still a dialogue, isn't there? Yeah, and it's constant negotiations. In preparation for this podcast, I was reading back on one of my journals. And, it was from just over a year ago, maybe like 18 months ago. I wrote in my journal, I must have been making my breakfast at the time. And in my journal, I got so angry. It's actually quite funny now looking back. I was like saying to myself as I was making breakfast, writing down, I am using a big bowl because I do not want the size of my bowl to control me for the rest of my life. I'm not going to weigh or measure my peanut butter on my breakfast because I do not want peanut butter to be measured for the rest of my life. And I think it's the whole process of recovery. You realize that what you thought you were in control of is actually controlling you. When you look at it like that, you think, oh, I thought I was controlling my food. Actually, food is controlling me. Ask yourself, do you really want to live the rest of your life being controlled by the size of the spoon that you eat with, or the measuring bowl that you measure your cereal or your food with? And it's like, no. If you get honest with yourself, you really don't want that. I promise you. You want to live a bigger, better life than being controlled by a portion size or by what you can or can't eat.
I love that. I love that reflection, because being totally recovery is being free of that control.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard though. It's hard to let it go, all that stuff, but it's possible. So
Mm-hmm.
I think we learn a lot during the process. Like, whatever is hard, it's not impossible to is still acting on it. It's hard, but it's not impossible to act on the recovery process.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, so it is hard. It's really, really flipping hard. And a way to get, there's different ways that you can get through the hard. Obviously, sometimes you'll feel motivated, and that's great. And when you feel motivated, run with the motivation. But sometimes you won't feel motivated. And that's when you have to use, like, I got very angry a lot. I think, number one, because, being a girl, being a woman, we are taught to suppress our anger. So I found getting angry during my recovery a very helpful tool. So, for example, I would get angry at diet culture for trying to control me. I would get angry at the serving size on the back of a cereal box, just anything. And I would use that anger to fuel me, and I would get rebellious, and I would say, no, I am eating what I'm thinking about now. I am going to have another bowl of cereal, even though I've already had blah, 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 X, Y, Z. I want to because I'm in control. I've got the power, not diet culture, not a portion size. So I think anger can really be useful. And then just also commitment. And I know it's a word that people hate because you have to commit to recovery. And it's like, yeah, I know, but I'm scared or I don't want to. But you do have to make a commitment and stick to it no matter what, and use all the energy and the discipline that you put into developing the eating disorder and restricting. You've got to flip all of that discipline and use it, commit to recovery and propel you forward in recovery and taking the opposite actions again and again.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then you always say, like, if you go back, probably you forgot it. But the first day that you restrict your food, that first day, it takes something for you. It wasn't easy, because restrict food is not easy. So that day, we forgot it, right? But if we can go and just visualize it, like, has to be hard for you that day, and you really craft food that day, but you have like a big motivation probably
Yeah,
and commitment with the eating, and you make it happen. So
exactly.
as you say now, like that, that skill that the eating disorder put put you in you to recover, because it's possible.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody with an eating disorder has the benefit of usually being extremely stubborn and extremely determined and very brave. Like, we are powerful beings. It's just that that power has been turned against us. So now it's time for you to reclaim the power and use it in favor of your freedom. So it's within every one of us about relearning how to use it for ourselves rather than against ourselves.
Yeah, and it's also where you put. I always like, where is your focus? You have all this power inside of you. Have all these values. So turn to your values and put into working on this new, that's new purpose of life, or into your new life. If I am brave, I'm going to be brave in recovery. If my value is being honest, well, I'm going to be honest with
Mhm.
myself. What are your values? It's important to put in there,
Yeah.
because I like to do this with my client. Like, okay, write me the values of the eating disorder and write me your values. And
Yeah.
we find most of the time that the eating disorder have anti-values. It's not values, it's not honest, it's not French, like anything. You can find any big value in the eating disorder. So every time that you agree to follow what the voice of the ED told you, you are betraying your own values.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember that actually because you told me to do that many times. And that's something that I think is important to do that exercise, like repeat that exercise a lot because values can change. And especially, for example, at the beginning of my recovery, I didn't want to recover for me. I didn't, at the beginning of my recovery, to be honest, I didn't care about just wanted to make other people happy. And I think, again, it's quite a sad thing to admit to, but I think it's the reality for a lot of people. So, for example, at the start of my recovery, I wanted to recover for my parents so that my parents could stop worrying, for my boyfriend so my boyfriend didn't have to care for me, so that I could maybe have a job one day. Lots of different reasons. And then over time, your values change and you want to be, yeah, an honest person. You value your health. You value your, like career. Like you cannot have a career if you have an eating disorder, education, so many different things. And it'll change for everybody. But it is about being very real and very transparent and knowing that the eating disorder is robbing you, stealing you of all all of the good things, all of the good parts in you. It takes them away from you again, which is just it isn't pleasant and it's not a nice thing to be able to talk about, but I think it's important because that is the reality for a lot of people. And another thing that I think is maybe good to mention and maybe not spoken about, at least I've not really heard it spoken about much, having an undernourished brain, being in an energy deficit will make you feel very, very sad, very low, depressed, maybe even like it's not worth living. And so I was diagnosed with depression when I had an eating disorder. I didn't have depression. I was starving hungry. Before I was ever diagnosed with an eating disorder, because I didn't fit the BMI scales for having an eating disorder, I was put on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication. None of it worked because I wasn't depressed. I was hungry and my brain was malnourished and the neurotransmitters and all my hormones were just being suppressed. So again, like it might feel like for some people when they're at the lowest of the lows, it might feel like it's not worth recovery. Recovery is so hard and it's not worth it because it's not worth living. I promise you again, your brain, the state of your brain will change as you re-nourish and you will discover that there is a life out there for you and you can you can do with your life what you want to do because you have the power, you have the freedom, you can choose to do what you want to do with your life.
I love that. And I want to add that I was talking with a friend that she was telling me also how much it changed the microbiota in your stomach. And also that microbiota is is um is really related with your brain because
Mhm.
everything is connected, right? So what she said, like even like we have this OCD process. All of us has it too, and most of them it has to be also with the microbiota. Like it's not nourished, is not like fully complete. Once you start eating, that start like growing and develop better and everything. So that helps also to stop the OCD process, which for me was fascinated to understand it in that way because it makes so much sense. Because when you start eating and when you start like really nourish yourself, it's like quite different how the OCD start going down and down and down. It's like, oh, how that could be possible?
Yeah, definitely. And I had a math. I would say most of my eating disorder was about compulsive movement and obsessive movement, and not even going to the gym, but just walking, cleaning, lower level movement. And I remember, and this is something that it was one of the last things for me to like recover from. And as I was, if ever I was hungry, even if I didn't think I was hungry or I'd just eaten a meal, I would have the compulsion or I would really genuinely feel like I couldn't sit down. I just couldn't sit down. When I started eating and I could sit down. Once I'd had another snack, I would have this thing that I would eat a meal and then I would have to move. As soon as I'd finished the meal, I would have to move. I would have to go for a walk, clean something, do something. Why? Because I wasn't satisfied. So if I finished eating and then I sat there without doing anything, my brain would go, food, 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 food. You want more? I'd like another sandwich or more food. So I had to distract myself. And for me, the best way to distract myself was with movement. When I stopped doing that and I slowed down and I allowed myself to eat more after finishing a meal or just during the day if I wanted to watch the TV but I wasn't allowing myself to just sit and watch the TV. If I got a snack, ate something, had an extra portion of food, I would be able to relax. And
Yes.
all the the urge to move, to go for that walk slowed down. It didn't go completely, but it was just I was in a calmer state to then be able to go, do you really want to go for a walk or do you want to just sit and have a nap or watch some telly, do some journaling, or do you want to eat more?
Yeah.
Um, and it was just a lot easier to rationalize everything. And then eventually you get to a place where you learn that you have to just slow everything. You have to be in a nourished state. You have to give your brain energy to be able to think clearly, and you get to know your body more, and it becomes easier to different make the difference between what is a compulsion, what is an eating disorder like driven thought, and what is your own truth or your own desire. And it's difficult, but that it does get easier with nourishment.
Nourish. Yeah. And with practice, because that's the other
Yeah.
thing. Sometimes we think like, okay, I did it today.
Mhm.
It's not working. Let's go continue. Okay, I hear Georgia, and I'm going to just sit down,
Mhm.
eat. Let's see what happens, and nothing happens. It's still you wake up tomorrow and you're going to have the urges to move
Yeah.
or to restrict. The thing like you say, you had to commitment and you had to have consistency.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not going to happen or not moving from there.
Mhm.
You have a pathway already in your brain that is going to be there all the time to create a new pathway. You had to go and like I always imagine someone like just like caving like doing taking the making the highway from the beginning
Mhm.
So you had to show up to make the highway. You had to be there. You had to go every day to go and build it and put the cement and whatever you need there. Otherwise, it's not going to build it by itself.
Exactly. You've got to use the healthy pathway, the healthy highway again and again and again. And you have to not go down the eating disorder pathway. You
Yes.
can't, because every time you use the eating disorder pathway and lights it up and it makes it feel attractive again. And you picture the eating disorder like motorway pathway in your brain as undesirable. You've got to make it look ugly and like you don't want to go down there because you know that if you go down there, it's a spiral back to being very unwell with an eating disorder. And you just got to keep reminding yourself of that, like, this is hard. Eating disorder pathway looks very appealing right now, but I know that actually that it's a disguise. And behind the eating disorder pathway, behind the door, is just a trap. It's just a ugly, scary, horrible life of having an eating disorder. You've got to make the healthy neural networks and pathways look attractive and appealing because that is the path to freedom and that is like a true path. And yeah, just like you said, it takes so much time, consistency, and you're not going to want to do it. At the start, you will have to, I had to force my backside out of bed and into the kitchen with so much like I had to put passion into it. I had to really be strict with myself, almost like you would parent a child. Like, no, you will go to school today. I was like, right, you will go downstairs and you will eat breakfast right now, and you will not go for a walk. And it was like I was forcing myself to do something horrible. It was so hard, and it was hard for a long time. Some days it was a little bit easier. Some days it was really difficult again. But eventually, over time, it just became a new normal for me. And now I can just go downstairs and eat breakfast. Or I can wake up and go to the bathroom and not think about breakfast for 20 minutes. And then I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. I'm going to go and eat breakfast. It's easy now. I don't think about it now. But that took so much hard work. So I know it's hard, but like you've got to do the work because there's no other choice.
Another choice. When I'm curious, where was your turning point between I'm done with quasi recovery, I just going to full recovery right now?
I I I don't know, and I think there wasn't one single point. For me, I feel like looking back, I had a lot of lapses, right? For example, I would have a big argument with my partner and I would think, right, I'm done with the eating disorder. It's ruining my relationship. I'm gonna go all in, honor all of my hunger, rest like it's my job. And I would do that for a week, 2 weeks, and then I'd I'd be like, "Oh, I'm better now. I'm recovered." And then I'd have one day of sort of dipping my toe back into eating disorder territory. By nighttime, I would feel like I've let myself like I've disappointed my recovery, and then I'd have to start again the next day. So I can't there's been many, many times like that over the past, like, 3 years. The first time I went all in was about 3 years ago, and like I said, so I did it for about 6 months, gained weight, thought I was recovered, slipped back into the eating disorder. And then you go again, and you do it again for maybe 8 months, and then you slowly start going back into the eating disorder because I think it's very difficult when you gained weight and you no longer look like you have an eating disorder. People start People stop worrying about you. You start feeling more normal. You start having some freedom. You take your foot off the gas a little bit, and you just got to be so careful and not be ashamed of being truthful with yourself and going, okay, I thought I was fully recovered. Maybe I'm not. Let's go back all in again. Let me take recovery serious. That it was just up and down like that for a long time, for about 3 years. And then the last time that happened, I've just stayed up, stayed recovered, not had or not given myself the possibility of going back into eating disorder.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not felt difficult. Nothing's changed. It's just I've just stayed recovered, I think. And I think a lot of that is getting out of energy deficit and full healing. Just being bored of doing the same thing again and again, and being bored of having an eating disorder. Like it makes you a very small person when you have an eating disorder. So if you want bigger and better life, then you've got to stay recovered.
Yeah, I love that. I love what you say. Most of the people that is going to listen to us is probably they try a lot of treatments, a lot of possibilities before say like, okay, I'm ready to fully recover. But that those experience are going to help them because it helps us to really get to fully recover. Never is too late. Never is like, okay, I tried so many times. I'm done with this. I think it's just everybody's different. Some people needs one try. Sometimes you need like couple of them and say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to stop trying, and then I'm just going to decide that that's very different. And you say something that I think a lot of people stay in quasi recovery because they gain weight and they think like, okay, I gain weight. I am not
Mhm.
in this low BMI. I
Uh-huh.
am not in like danger anymore. I don't look that I have an eating disorder. Okay.
Yeah,
And that's a biggest lie.
really is. What really helps me with that is I actually, and I wish I remembered this person's name. So, but on Instagram, I came across a person who was in a bigger body, who had a very severe restrictive eating. Just seeing that you don't have to be underweight to be really struggling mentally, changed something in my brain, and it made me realize for myself that like your body can be undernourished in an energy deficit at any weight, and when you start eating again, your body is going to gain weight fast because it's protecting you, it's saving your life, it's saving your ass. Have to accept that your body, in most cases, I assume, is going to recover faster than your brain. And
Yes.
that's okay. And that is the most normal thing that a human body can do. It's natural, it's biology. So don't look at your body to determine your level of recovery. It's a mental illness. It will always be a mental illness. And it's about getting your whole brain, body, all of your hormones out of that energy deficit, not just about weight gain.
Totally. I agree with you. And if you gain weight, if you still have these thoughts, if you still hear the voices, if you
Uh-huh.
still like wondering which voice follow, or you still doing some behaviors, for sure not you are not recovered. You gain weight. That's different, and it's because your body need it. But now you need to heal your relation with your food, with your body, and with everything because fully recovery is really not just work in food and body. It's more than that.
Yeah, definitely. I think like full recovery, it's a very strange term because recovery means like coming back to the person you were before. For me, I would feel like I've recovered the person I was before the eating disorder. Before the eating disorder, I was a child. I was 6 years old before I started restricting my food. So I'm not the same person. I'm a whole new person. But through the healing process, I have learned so much about myself and filled up my entire life with things that I've learned about myself and what I like, what I don't like, learned about what career I want, not what career I think I should have based on like, parents or teachers. Recovery is just a strange word, and I think it's a great word to use and everybody understands it, but I don't think full recovery is actually applicable to what living in freedom
Yes.
is. I think it's a different thing. Recover, gain weight. When you've gained weight, that's great. You've done a great job, but you are not finished. Now you've got to learn to live in freedom. You've got to fill up your life with abundance, and that includes abundance of food and abundance of rest, but just abundance of joy and fun and ambition, motivation. Yeah, just fill your life up and make it bigger than an eating disorder. And yeah, it's really important.
I love what you said. Make it bigger than your eating disorder.
Mm.
That's what we need to do in order
Yeah.
to really commitment to fully recovery. As you say, it's a word that we understand. It's a common social. I think it's more than that. Actually, it's just
Yeah.
freedom. Because I always say, okay, you fully recover from your eating disorder, but you don't have now the eating disorder, and you can see there is parts of you that you need to work. Anxiety is going to be there. The eating disorder is not anxiety. So you are going to feel more anxiety. So you are going to feel sadness. You are going to feel a lot. And you are going to question things that you didn't question when you were in each other because you were very distracting. So now you had to go and fill your life and fool your life and repair whatever you need to repair as a human being that
Mhm.
having the struggles in the life, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think just like you said, that having struggles in life is hard. An eating disorder does protect you from life. For example, like when I was very unwell with an eating disorder and I was in hospital, I was relieved because being in hospital meant that I didn't have to go to school. I didn't have to work. I didn't have to do anything. When you recovered from an eating disorder and now you're like, right, now I have to live life. Don't get me wrong, living life in freedom is so empowering and it's fun. It's great. It's really difficult. It's tiring and it's not perfect. You constantly make mistakes and that's okay. And the great thing is that you no longer have an eating disorder. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You don't have to worry about food. You may not love your body, but you learn to accept your body and you don't worry about your body. So now you can worry about other things. Is maybe not like inspirational, but you worry about real life problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And you really, whatever you are a struggle, you really see the struggle and is it in, and you didn't quiet like, oh, I'm feeling this way. I hate my body. Because hate my body sometimes is just quiet the real struggle.
Mhm.
Yeah. The life coming as a life. And I love that. It's hard, but then you don't have the eating disorder and you don't cope anymore. You just feel life. And that's, as you say, probably is not so excited, but
Yeah,
yet it is life. And you are
exactly.
human, you are here, and you come to being alive, and you being alive without the eating disorder. I would like to ask you a last question before say the big news. What do you think will be the first step forward if someone wants to move themselves from quasi recovery?
Oh, that is a hard question. Really. I'm just gonna have a little second to think. Okay, there's a few things actually. So I think it is very important to remove any judgment or shame from the fact that you are not fully recovered, you're not fully living in freedom. Because I think that for me, when everybody around me saw that I gained weight and thought that I was recovered, I felt really embarrassed and ashamed to admit to family, friends, to say, actually, yes, I've gained weight and I'm still really struggling mentally. I am still got lots of extreme hunger, lots of mental hunger. I still feel a mess. I'm really struggling with my body image. I promise you, it's okay and it's normal that you are in quasi-recovery. I think it's a stage that most people will go through, and you probably have to go through it to reach full freedom. So just remove the shame from there, speak about it, get support if possible from a coach if possible, or from friends, family members. Just be honest about it. And then, as we've just discussed, look at in what ways you want more for your life. How can you make your life bigger than where you are now? And get very clear about that. You don't have to know exactly what you want. I think it's very difficult to know exactly what the future will hold and what you want for your future. Just really picture that you can have more than what you have now. Your life can be bigger than just eating the same foods every day and doing the same exercise every day and having to control everything. Just get very clear about, how you can make your life bigger and what more do you want from your life.
I love that. You, if you can, whatever is listen to you, whoever is listening to us, really you had to repeat this part because Georgia touched very important points here. Like, take away the shame. Doesn't matter you are in this quasi recovery process or how long you've been there. All of us pass through that. It's important actually. We say like that experience and probably that experience is like really push us to the fully recovery process. And that's important. And just take step by step and you will be there. You will be there and listen to you. Try to go inside of you and listen you. Don't lie to yourself. Don't cheat your be the most honest person that you can be. And just believe. I always say like you have to believe. Believe if you don't believe in yourself, believe in the people that is with you right now, that is helping you, that is companioning you in this process, because if you don't believe, not going to make it happen. You had to believe it.
Exactly. And show yourself some respect. Respect yourself like you would respect your best friend. You deserve more than an eating disorder. Now show yourself some respect and do the work to get it. Just be strong, because you
Yes,
are.
I love it. And you say, look for a coach. So shall we say the news?
Yeah, look for a coach. And if you would like to work with me, I would love to be your coach. Basically, yeah, that's the news. I have wanted to become a coach ever since I started working with my first coach, because it was it transformed my whole life working with a coach. It's not like therapy, it's not like any other treatment that I've ever experienced. It's like you have a best friend, a parent, a cheerleader, just all like lifting you up and teaching you to take responsibility and to take action for yourself. It was just transformational for me. And I've worked with several different coaches for me to get where I am now. And I honestly don't think I would have been able to live in freedom without all the amazing coaches that I've worked with. So I just wanted to do that for myself. Have an Instagram page already where right back when I started recovery, started documenting my journey. So through that, managed to connect with so many people. And I love it. I love speaking about eating disorder recovery. Yeah, sue me. I love it. It's my favorite thing. So, why can't I make that my career? I don't really have any other. When I was like growing up, there wasn't any jobs that I wanted to do. So it kind of feels like my purpose in life was to have a horrible eating disorder, to recover and to help other people recover.
Um,
So yeah, that's what I want to do.
I love it. And I think I told you this when we were working together. I said, I see in you a coach because you're pretty much coaching yourself at that point.
Yeah.
So I said like, yeah. You have all the skills and I'm happy now um, that you allow yourself to pursue what was in your mind and in your soul and in your heart. And now it's just do it. And I'm so happy for you. I think you are going to be you are already a great coach because you're coaching you. And for sure, you are helping a lot of people now with your Instagram page. So please, if someone is feeling related or want to start working with Georgia, she's taking clients now.
Exactly. Yeah. I am taking clients. So if you're interested, drop me a DM or an email. I'll send Carla all my details and I'm sure you'll share them. And yeah, how I will do it, well, how I am already doing it, because I've had a few tester clients, so thank you to those lovely women. So how I'm going to do it going forward is on a one-to-one WhatsApp, like text messaging, 24/7 almost, apart from when I'm asleep. And video calls either weekly or 2 times a week. I will discuss all pricing. I think it's so important to me to make it accessible and affordable to people. So I am willing to discuss a price that works for the person with them as well, because money shouldn't be something that holds you back from recovery. So that's really important to me. And yeah, I would love to.
Oh, that's so nice. Thank you, Georgia. We are going to put all your information here. I'm so happy. I really put this in the universe and in God, and it will be so great to have you as a coach, and you will help a lot of people. I'm not doubt of that.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone to listen to us. Please share the episode to everyone that you think needs to listen what we said here, or someone that you want to help. And if you listen in Spanish, just go to YouTube. I think we can find there the captions, and you will have all the captions in Spanish. Thank you. Thank you, Georgia. Bye.